Hello, hello. Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Africa in Tech, and I'm the first speaker that will welcome you guys. There is a great story not being told in Africa today, and I just wanted to welcome. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, everybody, just have a seat for a little bit longer, and we'll get everything ready for you. You're back. Ooh. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to welcome everybody to Africa in Tech. There is a great story not being told today, and it is the tech scene inside of Africa. And definitely, there is technological barriers, marketing barriers. There's a lot of things to consider when you're going into a new market. And this is the story that we are here to tell, and Africa in Tech is here to tell you guys. And definitely follow along on the story. Today, if you guys haven't noticed, Africa is a $2 trillion market. Between Apple and Amazon, that literally does cover it. But in the year 2050, it will be a $30 trillion market. So it will be the fastest growing market in the world in the coming years. And the tech that will bring this about is going to be very important and a big story to tell in Africa, and how to market to this huge demographic of people in different regions, in different countries. Again, it is a lot of different countries. It isn't just one nation. So there, and Africa in Tech is here to tell that story and to give everybody a glimpse into the challenges that any entrepreneur might face getting here. And I want you guys to see this. My name is Opsa, and I work in the incubator space myself on a startup that is very focused on Africa. And I realized sending money to my relatives, I had a lot of issues because the banking infrastructure wasn't there, and people relied a lot on these cash pickup locations. So I decided, oh, this is a very good opportunity to solve a big issue for the senders by giving them all the best options that they have of all the cash pickup locations. So this is a very big problem for most Africans, but nobody other than Africans would know until you actually deal with it yourself. So we do have a lot of inside information onto this market, and it is good that Africans actually get up and meet the challenges of tomorrow and to get their products marketed to these markets and get it across. And here is the video on Africa in tech, and I will leave it be.
Hi there. I have a question for you. What comes to your mind when you hear the word African technology? I'm sure you will think about poverty and limited infrastructure access, bad internet and connectivity coverage, less sophisticated systems, no reliable street maps and addresses. Well, do you know that many solutions, such as solar panel, remote area drone delivery, and mobile payment systems have been created and are more used in Africa? Do you also know that here in Silicon Valley, the golden rush for a tech company is to grow and build business in Africa? In reality, these companies that are moving there are struggling to get there because they consider Africa as one unique block. In fact, in many cases, they just replicate the same products, apps, and solutions and ship them directly to Africa. Africa is not one country, but one continent. It has varied markets, diverse cultures, and different regional systems. In fact, to be successful, it is very important to reshape the way we see and approach Africa and to adapt our products, apps, and solutions to the context. In 2016, Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook, proclaimed that the future of the world will be built in Africa. He is right. The reasons are simple. Africa is the fastest growing economy in the world. Africa has the youngest population of the world. Africa has also big business opportunities. To address all these questions, we've created Africa in Tech.
Africa in Tech is a community of African Americans working here in Silicon Valley. Africa in Tech is a series of shows hosted here at 42 Silicon Valley, one of the best software engineering academy in the world. Africa in Tech is a huge opportunity for networking with African Americans working in big tech companies like Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, Amazon, and so on. And as aspiring software engineer, we know how important is networking. Africa in Tech is also a bridge that connects American companies that build solutions for Africa and African companies' interest in the tech market of yours. Africa in Tech is also an open source platform where you can build or collaborate to address tech problems in Africa via hackathon or any kind of event.
As Satya Nadella said, technology is just a tool in the hand of humanity, a tool that amplifies our ingenuity and creativity. It is up to us to imagine the future, to use these tools and build the world we want.
We love Africa, we love technology, and we love Silicon Valley.
Thank you, guys. And I'm going to introduce one of our very first speakers, Hussein, right now to come up, and let's hear for him.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Hopsa. Thank you all for being here. My name is Hussein. I'm a student here at 42 Silicon Valley. We're very happy to have you here for our first Africa in Tech series. You guys are now part of a big adventure, a big story that we start writing now. So as we just see in the video, if I'm here, for instance, it's thanks to this, all the networking or the relationship that I built with my friends, with the colleague, all this experience that I had. So we want to provide the same thing. I realize that in Africa, there is a big gaps, there is a big lack of opportunities for young Africans back in the country. So Africa in Tech is a community of African American working here in Silicon Valley that interest in Africa and who aim to facilitate, creates mentorship, collaboration, networking for all of us here, and not only for Africans, but everybody interested in building something for Africa. Why are we building Africa in tech? This is what I'm going to ask my friend Bashir to tell you. So please welcome Bashir.
Hello, my name is Bashir or Basiru, I don't know which one is my name. Anyway, I'm a student at 42. I'm originally from Africa, from Niger. I grew up in a country, in a place where even today, we don't have electricity and clean water 24 hours a day. And the biggest challenge people are facing there is to get access to education. And for those who get educated, they are struggling and they are not prepared for the job of tomorrow. You are living in a day of technology, and everything you are doing, every job we're gonna do will be impacted directly or indirectly by technology in artificial intelligence, in machine learning, in robotic and virtual reality, and so on. But technology itself is not the answer. We need to create a platform where people can collaborate, can work, can network, and can find mentorship. This is exactly why we need. As you heard like in the video, today we want to talk about Africa. To really present not only what we used to see on TV, like all the bad things, but to really present all the opportunities that you can find in Africa. And Africa is one of the youngest population, has the youngest population of the world. Around 60% of the population is between 20 and 40%. And it's a really, really big opportunity to really create business. I'm not gonna talk too much. I'm gonna just introduce Joseph. He's gonna talk about more in details. Thanks.
Hi. Thank you. And thanks for coming to a very fast event for Africa in Tech. We are hoping to have a lot more in future, and you're encouraged to publicize this. My name is Joseph. I am a student at Stanford University. I study automated systems and agents. I'm interested in things that make decisions based on new information. Machines that will do that are what I study. But we are here to talk about Africa in Tech. One of the things that I have noticed, so first of all, I've lived here for 16 years, and I came here with a degree from the University of Nairobi, which was a huge advantage because I already had a good, solid background in engineering and technology. And most of you are very young. When I went to school, the electrical engineers and mathematicians also became the computer scientists. We didn't have computer science as a distinct field in Kenya at the time. So I came out here and have used some of my experience there to work with a lot of entrepreneurs here in Silicon Valley who are developing products and services for Africa, including a lot from Stanford University, where I've been about 10 years now. One of the differences that I noticed between entrepreneurs here and my Kenyan, and of course a lot of the other African entrepreneurs, is the lack of mentorship and networks. Because think about this. I give this anecdote to help ground that statement. Any of you knows who Mike Krieger is? Anyone uses Instagram? Anyone remembers how much it was sold for? So Mike Krieger was a TA in my human-computer interaction class in 2008, and he demoed what eventually became Instagram. It was not Instagram, and the first version he built was not Instagram. But he got mentorship, then he got connected to a network of people who understood how to develop things that are impactful. Now, the challenges and problems in Africa also present an opportunity, because you all know that necessity is the mother of invention. And so as Basiru and Hussein have said, there is a huge opportunity in Africa in terms of solving some of the problems that can be encountered in other places. And right now, we are aiming to create a community that connects entrepreneurs here. For instance, people who are creating technologies in clean energy or environment sustainability or health, and who are based here. Today I already talked to 2 people who are actually doing work in Africa, but they live here, they have never been raised in Africa, they don't really understand the intricacies and the challenges. If we create a community that helps connect these entrepreneurs, connect these, some of them are just, I would say they are more interested in helping rather than making money. So, you know, they are philanthropists. If we can connect them with young people in Africa, they will be mentored and they will also contribute. There's a 2-way path to that. So we hope to build a platform that brings together both the professionals like you guys and students, especially in Africa, who can be mentored and be encouraged to see some of the possibilities. I will stop there. I'm excited about this, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.
We're going to introduce Chloe, who is going to introduce our speakers.
Hello. So welcome to the inauguration of Africa in Tech. I'm really happy to be here. So we're all here today in 42 Silicon Valley for this inauguration. But how did we get here? It all started in 1998 when EPITA was still one of the only schools that offered a month-long code-intensive boot camp. Our keynote speaker went on to become a systems engineer before becoming a business development director to another school in France called EPITA. On top of that, he's also helped integrate some charity associations for young students to be able to teach them about coding and about IT. So, thanks to this man, we now not only have 42, a school in which each and every student learns how to grow, both as a coder and as a person, challenge themselves every day, and most importantly, learn how to learn. But we have it here in the USA, where it can go a long way. Because introducing this type of education in so many countries all over the world and giving an opportunity is not enough, Mr. Yamgnane, also known as Kwame, has blessed us yet again. This time, thanks to his knowledge, it is to contribute to the expansion of Africa's technology opportunities by gathering together African tech companies and, simply enough, Africans in tech in this wonderful platform. Thank you, Kwame.
It's going to be much easier for me because I play home, like we said in the World Cup, you know? So, thanks Bashir, Joseph, Hussein, Clotilde, for your introduction. I'm really pleased, of course, to give a part of my genome back to Africa. My father is born in 1945. We believe in 1945, because on those days, obviously in Europe, it was already a big mess, but you can imagine somewhere thousands of miles in the middle of Africa. So he's born in 1945 in Africa, in a French colony. On those days, a couple of years later, France used to have a specific program where they used to bring like some of the ancient colonies' best students in the best school in France. My father arrived in France. He had the choice between 2 countries, France or United States. So when I'm asking him, he doesn't know exactly why, but he chose France. So he arrived in France, and he flies directly from Lomé in Togo, like Hussein, and who is my cousin, basically, somewhere. And he flies directly from Lomé, where the temperature is at least 100 degrees, and he arrived in Brest. Brest is the western part of France, and basically, it's the French Seattle. So he remembers specifically the weather when he arrived, and basically he said, like, I'm going to fly back in Africa in a couple of years, and he stayed like 30 years because of my mom, I guess. So from that point, I won't say to you that I come from an underprivileged family. It's not true. Basically, my father went to one of the best French schools and has been spotted by the French president and start to work for the French president cabinet as a Secretary of State in 1992. And because you know that in our countries all over the world, usually it's much easier when you come from a privileged family to get study. I had the luck to do like very high-end study in EPITA, as you mentioned, in 1998, 7, 8. And on those days, I was like almost the only African or the only black guy inside my school. And it was like, wow, what's happening? It seems like Africans, they don't know how to code or whatever. It's genetic. So obviously, it's not part of the DNA, but it's part of the study. And today, I'm here to explain to you why finally I decided to create, to participate to the creation of Epitech and the creation of, as a 42 co-founder on what is the vision of the school and what does it mean for Africa, this type of school. Because basically what we do today is something that can be adapted all around the world, of course. On one of the key, of course, of the world where we are living right now is education. So I did like I prepared a couple of things about some reflection to share with you. And of course, you're going to be more than welcome to ask me like any question about education. Basically, I'm involved in education since 1998, despite the fact that I'm a coding engineer. And I was like better in C than in teaching C, I think. So it will be my pleasure. So the first thing is like, is everything about education on what is education and what is the purpose of education and why education is like, I would like to say, is so important. Because you know that finally, if you think about it, the world has lived without formal education for thousands and thousands of years. So why today it's so important, and despite to the fact that we think like education is something really old, I would like to say like formal education. In fact, if you're taking a look about the history of humanity, in fact, it's pretty new. But because it's more than a human life, means like the massification of education starts in Europe in the early, I don't know, around 19 something. So it's more than, so nobody is born here in 1990, so it's more than a human life. But if you take the history of humanity, it's almost nothing. So there is reason for all that, and I think it's important to have, to really, really well understand that before jumping inside, inside education. So the first thing is, right now we are living inside what we call, what I call the digital revolution, means the digital era. So in economy, they define era. So big era. It's a big lapse of time where something has crashed over and changed the face of the world. So basically, in 19 something, the big thing that did happen is electricity. Access to a super powerful transportation of energy. Because electricity is not an energy, okay? But it's a system that enables you to transport the energy. And by transporting that energy, you are able to transport the energy all around, and you start to create machine, etc., etc., of course, charcoal, whatever, all around. And this has created the Industrial Revolution. So the Industrial Revolution is a change of an era. So my own grandparents, whatever, or your grandparents or your grandparents, means people of your family in 1850, they used to live in a world where basically they used to do like some cattling, for example. They were like peasants. And how do you learn to be a peasant? You learn to be a peasant through your parents, through your family, through your mother, your uncles, through your family. And he's going to explain to you how to do cattle, for example. After the first revolution, the Industrial Revolution, it was no more a question of how to do this type of things. Because basically there was like enough food in the world because of the machine, etc., etc. And basically in 1850 in Europe, for example, it was a lot about how you're going to live the next year, how you're going to have like enough food. So finally your education, what you were taught was how to get that food. But after the Industrial Revolution, it was no more a matter of food. It was a matter of, for example, how to repair a motor, how to handle electricity, all these type of things. And when you think about it, it's no more possible for you to learn this through your parents. Nobody learned how to build a car, how to do the engine, whatever, through his parents. Well, you can, if your parents, of course, know how to handle it. But in fact, if you want to have like more people who are able to do it, what you do? You send them to school. And you create a school where the idea is to give people skill and abilities so they are able to live inside that era where they are right now. So of course it was really important to know how to do like some labor stuff, this type of things during the Industrial Revolution. But I think since 2005, we have left the Industrial Revolution. Now we are in the digital revolution. Why I'm saying this? You know what did happen in 2005? I think that was in 2005. The city of Detroit here in the US bankrupt. The most powerful city of the industrial era collapsed. It's what I call a change of era. So we moved from the industrial era to a new era, and on the same time, in 2005, it was the rise of Facebook, PayPal, all those digital companies. So basically today, we are no more in an industrial era, we are moving to a digital one. Which means, the same way we change education between 1850 and 1950, we have to change education from 1950 to 2050. Education has been really created finally to serve what? Okay? So I was just on the internet like Monday and I find that picture like, just you write education on Google and you go on Google Image and you get this. And this has been created to serve the era, the industrial era. Why it serves the industrial era? Because the industrial era is all about the supply chain. The question is why a company is so big in the industrial era. Take GM or Ford. Why they are so good? They are so good because they are able to do the same copy of the car 1 million of times. If you think about Boeing, I think Boeing, they release 400 planes a year, which basically means, if you remove weekends, Labor Day, whatever, they release 2 planes a day. 2 planes a day. And you know what? They fly, huh? So, of course, it's absolutely incredible. So all the value of Boeing is about the copy. how you are able to do the copy of the same thing hundreds of times a year, how as GM you are able to copy the same car 1,000,000 times a year, etc., etc. So as a human, you are here to serve the copy. So if you think about it, today, take the classical system. The classical system has been 100% built to stick to the industrial era. So when you go on a supply chain, if you go to inside a factory, so you have basic laborers, you have like, I don't know exactly in English, but you have like high-end technician, engineers, etc., etc., etc. And if you take on the side a school, you have exactly the same system. High school, community college, state universities, etc., etc. And depending what you do, what specialty, you do engineering, okay, your seat's gonna be here, okay? What is the difference between that picture and the previous one? So you see, education has been created for that. So the issue is now we are jumping inside the digital era. And basically, the people who used to work on the supply chain, they're going to be replaced. So now there is like two options for you. The first one is to say, oh, but what's going to happen to the people who used to work inside those factories? I'm going to tell to you exactly what's going to happen. They're going to lose their job. I can't do nothing against this. And basically, I'm quite proud to be part of the fact that I'm removing people from factories, because factories are completely silly. So I'm really proud to have created automated system, to have participated to the creation of the internet, if you want, to release thousands of engineers each year who know how to program this type of robot, who are able to invite those type of robots, because basically what I want is I want to remove my cousins who is in France working in this type of thing, because he's a human, and the human brain is absolutely incredible, and I don't understand why we use them to do this type of work that can be very well done by robots. So it's what's going to happen. The issue is, do we have a society who is able to manage the transition? There is two ways to do it. I would like to say the American way. You dead, you dead. You have to change, okay? Or you can try to do the French way, so you know, the social country. Oh, we're gonna help you, we're gonna give you money because you lost your job, whatever. And finally, they are just watching television at home. Which basically is exactly the same thing that happened in the United States, but it's almost the same thing. And the idea is how we're gonna change education about that. So what are the new values of the digital era? So if you think about the copy, so who use Facebook here? Oh, there is less and less. Huh? Hey, Bashir, you don't do the interview over there. Who use Google Plus? Ah, one guy over there. Two. So in fact, it's the question of the copy. In fact, in the digital era, there is strictly no value in the copy. Nobody cares about the copy. There is one social network, which is considered the best one. People, they are using it. One of the biggest competitors, Google, decided to create one to compete. So they create Google+, nobody use it. Nobody use it. Two people. Bashir, you should not do the interview at Google too. Okay, but on the same way, Google did the search engine, for example, on Facebook do something else, Apple do something else. Of course, they overlaps. couple of places. Of course, they overlap sometimes, but not so much. So the question of the digital era is in fact the question of the creativity. How we're gonna create things that are different. We must create different things. And I think there is one guy you remember who already in the late 80s or early 90s knew exactly about it. If I think like Steve Jobs is a visionary, for me, it's because of that. He understood, like, if we want to do things differently, we must think different. So you must have different people. Basically, if you want to think different, you take two different people. And this is another time completely the opposite of the industry. The industry, we want to be sure that you do exactly the job on the supply chain that you are paid for, and that's it. Please don't create something. Just move your arm. And we want to be sure that the guy who's going to replace you because you go for your retirement, whatever, is going to do exactly the same thing as you. So never, ever have someone who is different. And you understand why, finally, when we are talking about education, it's a full industrial system. You arrive inside when you are like 3, 6 years old, you go from year to year. If I tell you like something like, okay, when you are 7 years old, you must learn how to read. Well, you stare at me and say, oh, it seems logic. Now, we're going to reverse it. How can you think that over the, I don't know, billion of humans on Earth, all of them is going to learn reading the same day when they turn 7? It's ridiculous. We are human. We are not ants. We are not bees. Maybe I can learn how to read when I'm going to be like 11 years old because I'm ready at 11 years old. And my daughter, she's 3. Why at 7 she has to learn how to read? Why? Because already as soon as you jump inside the school system, we want you to be ready to serve the supply chain. You arrive at 8. You have the right to go to the restrooms at 8:30. At 9, at 15 to 9, they ring the bell. You have to run in the class. You have to stay in nice, very nice column. Okay? And we send our kids, our children, for almost like 2 or 3 decades inside that system. On that system, basically, it forges you. It changes you. It changes you, the way you think around you. But it's not what is nice with human. The nice thing with human is they think different. So it's now that I'm jumping inside why Africa. But I think you understand why Africa is so important in the world. Because everything is going to be about diversity. Everything is about diversity because diversity brings creativity, and creativity is the basic oil of the digital era. So if we want, we are here in Africa for Tech to talk about how to create new service, how to create new things, how to create incredible things that can change the world. It's impossible to think 2 seconds that a group of white Caucasian who just get out of the computer science of any university here, especially from Palo Alto, that will do something together is going to do something different. It's impossible. they come from the same school, they had the same course, basically they come from exactly the same high school, they did exactly the same courses during that high school, because basically if you don't have your 3,000 in SAT, you will never get an access to that school. To go inside that high school, they must be inside the same school district. So basically they must live inside exactly the same area. So if they live inside the same area, basically they have the same activities. Basically they read the same book. Basically, they are the same guy. So, in fact, it's not that they are not innovative. It's not that they are not innovative, but they are innovative the same way. So, basically, they are not innovative. Okay? So, the question is not to say, like, we have to replace those guys by a group of African because it's going to change everything. No. If you take a group of African, it does not work. If you take a group of kids, of teenagers, of 20 years old, it does not change. So when we are talking about open education, for example, at 42, what we try to do is first you remove all the barriers, so we are pretty sure that everyone can have access to the school. So basically the first barrier is not to ask you 80,000 a year. We don't ask any academic background. So obviously, it's not because you come from the bad school districts that you can't have access to the school. We don't ask for so much age limit. I think when we start, we ask from 18 to 30. Now we ask more than 18. And basically, we open something with Scott for Fun for 9 to 12. So like 15 to 18 years old. So we start to have like from 15 on more. Okay. And then you are quite pretty sure to have a great diversity of people. And from that diversity of people, you're going to try to create like big things. So I know higher education. I have like strictly no idea how to handle kids. No, if you want my kids, I can borrow you. No, I don't know. What I do is like for the last 20 years, I'm working about higher education on how to serve the best as I can the digital era. And I think if you are looking to create like new companies, how to handle new things, I think it's really, really important for you to really understand that diversity is really, really, really the basic of what you have to do. So really think about it. If you have to create companies, of course, open an office in Africa, because they're going to bring you some things that you won't find here, and basically vice versa. Okay? Thanks a lot. That's the end. So if you have like, I don't know if you have like any questions, or there is a Q&A, no?
Yeah, before the question, can you please give another round of applause for Kwame, please? Yeah. A big one, a big one. Yeah. Woo! Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, it's now the Q&A sessions. If you have some questions to Kwame. Yeah, okay.
So basically, the 42 model is like very different from how it is in school. I don't think this is working, but how do you make it so that even though we're all following the kind of same curriculum, that we still end up thinking different things? So basically, even though there are different tracks that we take, how do you make it so that we still end up, you know, not just being copies ourselves, like copies of the same software engineers?
So the question is ringing. Is yours? So the question is about like, basically you are saying, I tell back the question because I think like maybe there's people online and they need to understand the question. So basically Your question is like, how do at 42, because we are a school too, on how our school system, I would like to say, give you the insurance that you're gonna continue to be different than your partner or whatever around you inside the school, and you're still different. So this is a very interesting question. There is like, first, 42 is the first school that I know, because there is like more school maybe around the world who are like a bit like us. So basically, 42 is a school where we do not transmit any knowledge. So it's what I call, when I was writing the slide about 42, when we start to create the school, I call the concept zero knowledge transmission. So we don't want to transmit you any knowledge. So basically, for example, that's why we ask you to write things in C, because we know that you will never ever use C afterwards. So, of course, there is like a lot of theory about what you teach, why we teach C, what we teach. In fact, we don't teach C. Huh? But why we do C, so there's like plenty of guys saying like blah, 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 because it's a basic language. The basic language is you do assembly language, or you do like directly hexadecimal code, and that's it, okay? And this is really basic, so C language is a quite high level language with a lot of macro whatever. But in fact, it's not true. It's just because it's a completely useless language. So we are pretty sure that when you are learning C at 42, when you are using C, in fact, when you are using C, for example, you will not have an idea. For example, if you do like another language like Python, for example, to do AI, which is a language very used for AI, which is super slow language, whatever. You will spend more time learning the libraries, the function, how to use NumPy, for example, what are the different capacity of NumPy and whatever, okay? Instead of learning or of having a good understanding of what NumPy is doing with the matrix that you are manipulating to create the AI. So you're gonna start to learn Python. At 42, you don't learn any library. Basically, the first library you have to use, you have to write it yourself, okay? So that's one of the first thing is like, we don't give you any type of knowledge, and I don't want to give it. The issue is like, I'm not alone, and there is like, always people, when you ask them to do things inside the 42 curriculum, they always had something at the moment to give you a knowledge about something. So so it starts by, oh, we're gonna give them like a web piscine, so then a PHP piscine, then a Python piscine, then a Ruby piscine, then a whatever. And I see in the curriculum popping more and more piscine about different language. And sometimes I'm ready to say like, okay, we erase everything, okay? But things go. So basically what I'm saying to you is like, first, so that's the first thing, zero knowledge transmission. Secondly, you have no master. You have no masters. Like obviously you never see me inside the cluster. Why the bocal is outside and why I'm living in the bocal? Because I don't want you to meet me. Because the issue is if you meet me, if you start to do things with me, there is maybe at a moment you're gonna start to say like, if I say something to you, you're gonna say, oh, this is Kwame. Is super important. He knows what he's doing. He knows C. He knows whatever. He do code for the last 20 years. He know what I'm saying, and I'm gonna follow what he's saying. And at the moment you start to follow me, In fact, it's going to be you, plus another one, plus a second one, plus a third one, plus like the whole school. And finally, you're going to follow the track that I'm giving to you. And I don't want you to follow a track. I want you to create your own track. That's basically why when we start 42, for example, the different project you had access, in fact, there was like no link between the project, and you could select the project you want. In fact, it does not work. Because the students, they have no idea, so what they do, they arrive, they click on the project, and it was like Zappy, or, you know. First project at 42, like too much complicated, whatever. So yes, we have to give you a track, at least at the beginning, the different things you have to do. But finally, the most important thing is not about the school, it's about you. You can find, as a student at 42, you can find a lot of resources over the internet to know how to do things. And because you are in a school, your first reaction, usually, okay, is about what we call, inside the school, cheating. So in fact, why you become the same guys? You become the same guys because you go on GitHub, whatever, grabbing the code around you, doing like copy and paste, instead of playing the game of 42, which means like you're gonna invite your own code, like you're gonna create your own code. And basically what we do at 42 is a lot about creation. So why it's a lot about creation? Because a human, when he's facing an issue, when you're facing something, when you're facing a problem, you have like only two reactions. The first one is you already know the issue to the problem. So if I'm with Hussein and I meet Hussein for the first time, what I do? I shake his hand. Why I shake his hand? Because my mom told to me it's very polite to greet people when you meet them for the first time. So I said yes. And when you were very young and you did not do it, because we were French, you take a slap, poof. And then you're going to do it the next time, okay? So basically, when you meet someone, you shake hands. Well, depend on the culture, you can do a kiss, you can do whatever, but there is something about the greetings. But imagine now, we are in that room, and a guy from Venus arrives. Puff. That's the second solution. A human is facing something that he doesn't know. He doesn't have the answer. Big problem. We have a guy from Venus here. So which tentacle to shake? You don't know, etc., etc. And because you don't know, but you have to find a solution, because the guy is here, what you do? So you see, you're going to start to try to find a solution to the issue. And this is an exercise for your brain. Instead of just getting the info in your own database, now you have to find a solution to the problem. And basically what we do at 42 is why you have no courses, why you have no lecture, why you have nothing, and suddenly you are facing a problem, is because I want you to use the big things which is between your two ears, okay? And try to find a solution to the problem. The issue is, if you go to grab the code on GitHub and that's it, of course, you have the mark, whatever, but you don't do the exercise. So the most important is to create, when you are facing a new problem, is really to force you, and I know it's hard, of course it's much easier to do a research on Google than to create the solution in your brain, but I want you to try to find the solution to the problem. And then the second thing is about diversity another time. Usually at 42, what we try to do is we try to give you to solve those problems, and you are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you're going to face a big issue. The biggest issue of humanity. The other one. Someone else. And at 42, you're going to meet people from different cultures. We have people from at least 4 continents, not 5th, because I think we have no penguins here. So we have people from everywhere, all over the world, with different culture. And when you are facing your neighbor who's come from Belgium, or Hussein who come a very nice country called Togo. How was your World Cup? Okay? Those guys, they don't have the same culture as you. And you have to find a solution to the issue. The guy from Venice is still here. So you're going to share with someone who is not agree with you. Because he comes from Japan, you don't shake hands. Okay, you bow. So he's going to say to you, we have to bow him. And you're going to say, no, but we have to shake his hand. Because it's a difference of culture. But basically, you have just one answer. You go for the correction one time. Well, now 5 times, whatever, you can recheck, retry, whatever, but okay? One time. So you have to give the good answer right now. And you got to share with him why you don't agree, etc., etc. So all this is a way for your brain to work, to do the work. And it's really important for you to do that work. And finally, you're going to find your own solution. If I ask you to build a bottle of water, bring me a bottle. Basically, because you live here, a bottle of water is like, you know what is a bottle of water. But if you come from a place where there is no bottle of water, you have to create your own bottle of water. On the 2 bottles, why at the end of the exercise of building a bottle of water, why all of you would create the same bottle of water? You will create the same bottle of water if you have a teacher like me who's going to explain to you a bottle of water is this. And you're going to replicate what I'm saying to you. So we try to keep you different from your comrade, etc., by leaving you a space to think. That was a very long answer. Too long? No, it's okay. I'm going to try to answer quicker, faster.
In Africa with the cadets in either the US or in France to work together long term?
So yes. So the question is like, so as you may know, we have like several schools. There is 2 official one in Paris, one in Fremont, but we have like also franchise. On the franchise, we have one in South Africa, and we are opening one in Morocco and one in Tunisia, if I'm right. So the idea, of course, tomorrow is to be able to have like some bridge between all those different nationalities. But on the same time, since 2013, 2012, when we start to talk about the school, on 2018, there is some things that appear inside the world. People are more building a frontier with big walls facing the frontier. And it starts to be really, really, really difficult to be able to ask to the student to travel from a place to another place, which is basically a really big issue in terms of diversity, of course, means like a big issue in terms of creativity, means a big issue for the digital era. And that's why, basically, that's why too, it was good to start the school in France, because France is really in the middle of Europe, easily, and then you have access to Africa, which is not far away. So France is... I'm not American, so I can't vote. But the idea is like, so basically it's quite easy to bring people from Norway or people to Africa inside France, and it's the same time of travel.
One more round of applause for Mr. Kwame, please. All right. You can have a seat. Thank you, boss. So I just wanted to thank all of the people that are here to help make Africa in Tech happen. There are a ton of students. If you're a cadet, please raise your hand really high. Absolutely. Look around. Absolutely. You're why we're here, honestly. Like 42 is the reason for the season, and it should be every day, all day, right? And so we want to just say thank you for your hard work and your efforts and what you do in helping make things happen in 42. You're why I'm here, right? Every day we focus and we're trying to do things up there, and we're really working on trying to just make things available and accessible to you, bringing ideas and thoughts of how we could make everything be inclusive and diverse, and this is our first step. And so the brothers came to me one day and was like, could you help us quickly with this Africa in Tech? And I'm like, of course I'm down. And because our founding father, one of our founding fathers is African or has African descent, it just made sense to have him be our keynote speaker. Snap if that makes sense. Right. Keynote speaker. And so to further along night, I also wanted to raise your hand if you're not a student and or if you're a parent of a cadet and or a senior here. If you have a son that have been a part of the program or tried out for the program. So Michelle, you're one. Miss Rachel, you're one. Mr. Baptiste is one. There's Mr. Jacques. And so Rachel, you're from, where are you from? Here, yeah. So she's from Berkeley area. Mr. Baptiste is from, where are you from, sir? Haiti. He came by way of being my Uber driver. And Miss Rachel, where are you from? Say it loud. From Kenya. And then Mr. Pastor Jacques, where are you from, sir? Ivory Coast. Just in that formula and me telling you to raise your hand, you can see the diversity and it already happening. We're not even having to move and talk about it. It's just happening. Snap if that makes sense. And this is why it's so important, like Kwame says, it's like we don't have to be in the same areas, we don't have to be in the same places, we're just all coming together and we're making it happen, right? And so we're happy to be here and we're happy to have Kwame. One of the other things that we wanted to do is there's a small presentation of gifts that we want to also give to our co-founder. And we have a wonderful team that we've drummed up that have some lovely gifts. And Kwame, if you can come back up here, please, sir. And if we can also have Freedom, please come. And Ezra. All right. So there's the small presentation of gifts. We have people that brought stuff all the way from Africa, and then there's also a lei that was made and brought all the way from Hawaii for our boss and our co-founder. And I'm going to pass the mic along. And thank you very much, guys.
Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing tonight? All right. That did not sound tired at all. I just want to clarify something that he made light of a few moments ago. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kwame. He is super important. He does know what he's doing because he has been coding for the last 20 years or so. And I just want to say thank you, because it takes a very particularly warm and generous person to not only dedicate as much time, love, and energy into not only co-founding this school, but also of keeping and managing the institution that we stand in today, which has impacted and touched the lives of so many men and women across the world. And for that, we would like to honor him, as has been mentioned a few seconds ago. But before that happens, I'd like to bring up a very special guest, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Freedom Shatani, and I'm sorry if I butchered your last name.
Well, so when my mother was 6 months pregnant with me, there was like an attack. There were like guerrilla war soldiers, and it was my dad's side of the tribe killing my mom's side of the tribe. And so she's running away. And so she goes into early labor. And I wasn't supposed to like live. And so as she's running away from this tribal genocide, so she goes into somebody's house and they take her to the hospital where the doctors say, well, you might not have your child. So obviously, I was born 3 months premature, and my grandmother only knew one word in English, and that word was freedom. And so she came to the hospital and held me and said, his name is Freedom. And that became my life's task. So I love cadets. So the distinction, being a cadet is like a warrior. You can do good, but you can also do evil things. A cadet is inherently a fighter, a soldier, to defend something. Defending a future, that works. So I do want to acknowledge the cadets for defending a future that we don't even know about yet. So Kwame is like the father of the autonomous education. I've done some work and research, and I am the creative director of Moonshots in Education, where we look at ideas that are shifting the educational landscape. It wasn't until 1658 when the idea of a universal education came along. And then, as Kwame said, we reached this new phase where we had to make copies. Now, with the autonomous age, it's now about you as an individual, as a human being, not you as a copy of another. And so I remember when I was talking about all this knowledge that I'd learned from all my research. So I'm like, Kwame, you know, 42 has like this incredible history. You know, it has like all these influences from Apitech. Do you know about Apitech? And then Kwame was like, well, I built Apitech. I thought I was saying something revolutionary. So that's, for me, that was like a shift in terms of who this human being that's standing in front of us is on the planet. So 42 became the first self-driving classroom, or the first autonomous classroom. And he created that. He envisioned that future. And so today is a significant moment for Africa in tech, because really, you get to be able to say, I know and I experienced the coming of a new era and the father of the autonomous education, Kwame. So thank you.
I just want to say woo! A lot of gifts. Hey, Joseph.
Yeah, and then this one comes from Nigeria. It's like a sign of authority and leadership, and we recognize all Kwame has been doing for us here, and then we give him this officially.
Oh, I personally just want to say something. I'm thankful to be 42 at 42. When first we talked to Kwame about the idea, like I was Hussein is my friend, we got an idea and said, hey, you know, we really want, what can we do? And we got an idea to do Africa in Tech, we first talked to Kwame, and his reaction was, he was really, really surprised. He was excited. And he helped us making these things happening. I really want to thank him personally. I also want to thank a lot of people here at 42, Jamie, Shana, and Brittany. Without them, I don't think this event could be possible. I also want to thank Joseph. He really, really worked with us, and he's managing and coordinating also a lot of people, bringing people from Stanford on this event. I really, really want to thank him also personally. And thanks also for attending this event. I don't know, Guy, if we have, and Issa also, for sure, and Chloe and everything. So I'm going to just pass the mic, so they're going to just say thanks.
Hi, I'm just going to conclude very quickly. I know you guys have been here for a while and you've heard a lot. A lot of the things I wanted to conclude with has already been said. So I'm not going to be long. I just wanted to kind of add to the person who asked the question earlier of like, okay, well, you know, I'm a white guy who came from the traditional system here, probably grew up in the Bay Area, something like that. Well, like the whole point of Africa in Tech is to create a community, right? So to include people like you, connect them with people like everyone up here who has that different background, right? We're gonna try to create that community, bridge the gap between the community, African community here in the Bay Area, which is huge because Pastor John Baptiste taught us that. We got to meet the African community with Shauna. Yeah, and it's huge in the Bay Area. But then you go to the tech meetups and you don't see that. That doesn't reflect there, right? So that's what Africa in Tech is about. We're trying to bridge that. Basically, I'm just gonna conclude right now. Right now we're gonna have some networking. If you're interested, if you're not from 42 and you're interested in learning more about 42, we have ambassadors here, including me, myself, Ezra, back here. We're willing to show you tours upstairs, and if you're a 42 student, feel free to stay down here, connect, have some food. There's plenty of food. Thank you guys for all coming here today. Yeah, we have monthly meetups for Africa in Tech, yes. Monthly meetups, and a different speaker every time. Thank you, Kwame, for being our first speaker. That's all. Thank you guys for being here.
No. So we have some good African food that you can find over there, some ginger drink directly from Africa. Yeah.